Bat Force Radio.
Bat Force Radio is rated M for mature, or should that be immature?
Hey guys, it's Dustin Wynn.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
And welcome to Bat Force Radio, the Batman/DC podcast with no limits. Mike currently hold the record for the most consistent Batman-focused podcast at this point in time, being on our 10th year, 1 decade. I have Robin Cross up in Canada.
Oh.
I got Bat Force Grumps out of New York.
Yep.
Got Grandpa Batman out in Texas.
Howdy.
I got Jesus over in Jersey, believe, and I got Big Dunk over in upstate New York.
What up?
Capital. We starting the year off crazy ass year, right? We are going into this show is going into its 10th year, and tonight breaking bread with the boys and sort of doing a little bit of a retrospective, talking about what things were like in the Batman/comic/entertainment industry 10 years ago till now, what has changed, and possibly like the future of all of this shit. So, starting off, you guys remember what Batman comics and mythology was like about 10 years ago? We were like well into the New 52, weren't we?
Yeah, it was the peak of the Snyder Capullo run. I think they had just started the in-game arc. Which, if you remember, I mean, that was like, a very horror-based Joker story that ultimately ended up in, Joker and Batman fighting it out to the death. And then we got into the, what was it? Super Heavy, where Jim Gordon became Batman.
Yeah, we don't talk about that era.
That's tough. Yeah, so that was like the end of their run, wasn't it? For their Batman run, I think
there was a brief small period where Scott jumped and started doing the All-Star Batman, which a lot of people forget, right? Because I think it only ended after like 13 issues before he kind of committed to.
And that was that book where he gave us that one glimpse of Gentleman Ghost.
Mm-hmm. Yep, which I'm still angry about with the Uzi. And then nothing ever came about. I was like, oh, what a tease. But, Scott Snyder's written a lot of stuff, a lot of quantity, and I feel that it could be very hit or miss. But the core of
one thing I want to point out about Scott, I think we talked about this just during our meeting last week, though, but I'm surprised because there were a few years where Scott was doing all creator-owned stuff. And I don't know how Marvel didn't snap him up when he wasn't active with DC. But I think now they've missed that opportunity now because with him back at DC, now he's running the whole Absolute universe. Yeah. And at this point, with how successful that is, that's, him being top of the mountain for a second time, I don't see DC ever letting him go again. I think eventually he ends up like Jim Lee status where they put him on as publisher or something like that and just hold on to him forever.
Scott Snyder's a good salesman. Like, whether the material is good or bad at the moment, he knows how to sell comics when they start and build hype that way, which is really important because I think the publishing industry in general, especially with comics, it's even if a good run, you really need sometimes you just need to refill that momentum with books, So, like I said, whatever keeps the industry afloat, and a lot of people are really liking the Absolute stuff. You got Hush 2 going on right now. You got the new Long Halloween. I mean, DC is definitely still firing on all cylinders when it comes to Batman. Interestingly enough, you think about 10 years ago, we had a lot of Bat titles going on at once. fast forward right now, same thing, maybe even more than ever. I mean, we've always talked about how the Bat keeps the lights on over there, but like, well, yeah, what are you guys thoughts about that the continuous output of Batman, and is the quality still holding up, or is it evened out, or what?
I feel like just recently, it's picking up a little bit. And again, you're mentioning titles that a lot of us are familiar with, where Scott's working on something, and it's like, all right, cool. What is he working on? Absolute Batman. All right, cool. That had his whole like event thing going on that a lot of us brought attention to. A lot of us brought attention to a lot of artists and other writers too. So following up with Absolute Batman, because of Scott and pretty much his resume of what he's worked on previously, you have a lot of great talent falling or jumping into this chance of, like, doing the absolute Wonder Woman and the absolute everything else, the absolute universe. And that's pretty cool to look into, because the more, like, I'm not paying attention to anything else, but I'm like, oh, man, wait, what's that? Oh, crap. I'm going to have to jump into that sooner or later.
Yeah, if you're not checking any of the other ones, you are missing out. They are all good.
Yeah, and that's all I hear over and over again when I go to the comic shop. So I'm like, I'm always going to be this guy. And after talking and hanging out with Gramps for a bit, I became a trade guy, because I'm like, listen.
Everybody gives me that.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame you. You know what? I'm not at fault here. No, at the end of the day, like, what's the best thing cost wise? You know what? Once this is done, cool. Unless then you fall into the dunkness of these awesome covers that keep on coming out. So you start buying covers, and you're doing this, you're getting them signed, blah blah. Welcome to my world. But I want to read more of this Absolute world because of Scott, and because where I know where Batman's going, it seems very entertaining and so well. Where it's like, he had discussions with everyone else working on the Absolute Wonder Woman, the whole Absolute universe. So it's like, I'm very curious to where all that's going, because for the last couple of years, Batman was just the most random titles getting pulled up, and all these other things we had to get used to, or these 4-issue titles or 6-issue titles or whatever. But now it's like, oh wait, so everyone's involved again. Wow, I missed this the first time. I can't wait to see it again for the first time myself. That's where I'm at with that part of Batman. Absolutely.
We also fell into like the theme of, in the past 3 years, like you just said, kind of like these one shots, these big books of 4, where they were Elseworlds and short stories, and then they kind of just ended. So from a fan perspective, it kind of left you high and dry sometimes, right? Where you were kind of mixing different stories, and you have to really kind of keep each one in their own lane, right? Where we have these amazing big format collectible books, but maybe a Cliff Chiang book would only be 5 or 6 issues. And it just kind of, the tempo was off, right? Because of what was happening in the market. And that's something that we lost post-COVID, that consistency, where right before COVID, I remember all of us would be at the comic shop every other week, bi-weekly, getting these books. And now things are a lot spaced out, right? So with that comes even higher prices. So it's like, how is that affecting the interest of the comic book collector, right? Like, we're slowly getting that back again.
Are we getting another reboot with any of the titles?
I think
Batman's starting again, after Hush.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Hush will be like a new event that kind of restarts the Batman title.
Yeah, it's starting over with
how will that end?
Yeah, it's starting with Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez.
Oh, I like him.
Mr. Sexy. Hello.
Kind of circling back to after the Snyder Capullo run, there was the time when we had Tom King as the main writer of the Batman main title, and that was a very polarizing run. For one, it stood out as a stark contrast to Scott's writing style, but also some of the storytelling, because it was like a long story. You know, kind of a slow
Yeah.
burn leading up to
Yeah.
the big event. You know, the big City of Bane arc, and I just remember how people were riding in the streets over the wedding, and and how that got spoiled by what newspaper was it? I don't know. Some newspaper spoiled it like 3 days ahead of release, and everyone was pissed off about that.
I don't think that was a spoiler. I think DC spoiled
Yeah, they
it,
just
wasn't it?
announced it. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, DC did
that
spoil
stuff
it.
always happens. Like you had, you know, back in the New 52 when Grant Morrison was writing Batman Incorporated, you know, the announcement came out that Damian was going to die, and that issue 8 or whatever it was. So yeah, they promote that stuff too. So.
Yeah, and then you had Alfred dying in like issue 77, and they have never brought him back.
That's one of the worst things that's happened in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And Tom didn't even want to do that.
Yeah,
That
apparently
was editorial.
Tom is blaming Scott right now for that. Just letting you guys know, 'cause I give him shit
So
every single time.
Let's just put that out to the universe. Bring Alfred back. Alfred needs to be a constant. It's just ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, Tom was supposed to be like doing it for 100 issues, and then I remember kind of just a big story where it said, you know what, Tinian's taking over at issue 86.
86, yeah.
And I was glad that Tom got to kind of put a bow on his story with the Batman Catwoman 12 issue thing that he did with Clayman.
That was a way to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to hear the story on how that whole thing went down, go back and listen to our episode with Clayman where he talked about that that whole situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that kind of led us into the Black Label era with the first release of Batman Damned. And
the Bat Dick.
I was waiting to see who was gonna say it.
I remember going to my shop and they had like a preview copy with no words, right? And the owner was like, the shop owner was like, "Hey, take a look at this," and I'm just looking through it and I'm just like, "Wow, Bermejo's art's amazing," and it's just like, "Okay, wow, this is crazy." And he was like, "You didn't see it?" And I was like, What? And he's like, "You didn't notice?" And I was like
most of us.
that little shadow.
Yeah, I'm not looking for Wiener in my comics.
It's not the new issue of Jungle Fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really showed the maturity of the American reader with that one. Bermejo's trying to do something more on a fine art level, and just
just taking a bra off, guys. That's it.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, but I like.
But you know how much that issue 1 is worth? Jeez.
Yeah, it was expensive right away.
Why? What's it going for these days? Like ballpark figure.
I haven't seen that in a while. I know at one point it was like $100 book at one point.
Yeah. It was $100 book raw easily. Right now it's sitting at $75.
Damn.
If you get it signed and it gets a 9.8, it's probably worth about $400 or $500.
Oh shit.
I have the copy Gramps was talking about, that galley that was just art and no text. I have that one signed. He signed that for me when before it came out, actually.
I don't think he actually will sign it anymore.
No,
he'll sign the book. But like there's numerous requests of people trying to ask for the Bad Dong again, and he won't do that again.
A remark? They want a remark on the cover.
Yeah,
they want a Frank Miller signature.
That was
as Doug likes to point out.
That should be a remark at this point. He's just signing wieners. I've asked the first time, and he was like, "No," and I was like, "Cool, I'm never asking ever again." For Lee's remark,
I think,
the bad tongue.
You know, from what we remember too, that large format magazine, we thought we were going to get this highly adulterated, rated R version for guys like us to kind of explore, and I felt like it was short-lived, right? Like it had its moment.
One wiener, and it was over.
Well, that was when the new
just the whole format.
the new ownership was coming at the time, and that's where everything went bad. These new people take over ownership, and the first thing that they have to deal with is the news breaking that there's all this hype around a Batman comic with a dick in it. And
But wasn't
that was the AT&T merger with was it Discovery, or Discovery was after, right?
Yeah, I think that was afterwards.
So it was the AT&T merger, and then that's where they started filtering and letting people go, and they wanted to kind of put this book on the wraps and kind of just move on from it, right?
A part of me wants to believe that was just a big FU to that whole.
Yeah,
probably. I'm still confused because wasn't White Knight the first Black Label book? It just didn't have any nudity or anything.
I don't think White Knight got added to Black Label until later.
Okay, all right. Because I'm looking at I was looking at my issue 1 earlier, and I was like, wait a minute, this is a standard comic with the DC Black Label, and I remember the controversy behind that nude scene that Sean drew with Harley, and that never made it to any of the comics.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Well, yeah. There was the one scene that he had to cover up. He had to cover them.
Yeah, the word bubbles are dead.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, it was weird because I think because me just looking at where I was collecting wise, I picked up White Knight first, and I remember seeing the Black Label logo on there, and then Damn came out like maybe a month and a half after that, and it was like, oh wait, this is Black Label. Like, all right, cool. And then I never thought about it until I looked back, and I was like, hey, DC, what were you deciding to do here? Something to think about.
I like these big moments throughout the 10 years like that. Like, all right, so what about that? I think it was Raphael Albuquerque, that Killing Joke homage cover where Joker's like painting the face on Babs. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
And it got pulled. So it got pulled, and I think Robin made us copies, so like with the header on it and everything.
Yeah. I had made that complete. Like the barcode worked and everything.
Wait, what?
And someone tried to get it signed, and he was like, "Nah, man, I can't."
Yeah, I think that was LPC.
yeah.
Oh my God.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was LPC. Oh, that's so fucking funny. I remember Raphael was just like, nah, I can't. Oh, there was so much controversy.
He didn't want to get fired.
It's not even, oh God, it's not even that big of a deal. I swear, there was some bullshit that just was really unnecessary. Also,
when you get to this point that we've been in for a while now, where the publishers are owned by these bigger companies, by these big conglomerates, then the comics stop being what they were before, where it was about artists creating art, and creating their vision. And now it becomes this thing, it's an IP owned by a multi-billion-dollar company.
So lame. I mean, think about all the good shit we got like in the 80s too, with, the Alan Moore stuff and TKR and everything. And, now they got to put a little, censored a little and all that bullshit.
Yeah, you're not going to be getting any Bruno from Dark Knight Returns in comics anymore.
Oh, of course not.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We still need a birthday boy fig, don't we, Gramps?
That's right.
I still think that's one of the most unnerving characters in Batman mythology, is Birthday Boy.
That may have been the only thing that McFarlane did not make out of the line, right?
How many cakes do you add to those accessories? because there should be multiple cakes.
Birthday book. Do you guys remember the hype behind Dark Knight 3, the Master Race, and all the variants?
Oh, I remember when that tweet from Frank Miller came across and said, my silence is deafening. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was so much hype. There was so much hype behind that series.
And so many covers. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think I have I have most of them.
Didn't they make a book of all the covers?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Just when I was about to have almost all of them, they put that book out, and I was like, "Damn it!"
What you missing? If you're missing anything, let me know. I got you.
Okay.
You were almost done collecting them all, and then they went right up your alley and put out a trade.
I know.
Yeah, and he was like, "Fuck! I broke my one rule."
So did nothing ever come out of that series when it wrapped up? Because it wasn't Carrie Kelly like the new Batgirl or something, and
She became the new Batwoman. And then
there was the Golden Child issue.
They had the
as well.
Yeah, the Golden Child issue. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
DK4.
And that was that.
Until then. Until the next one, guys.
We got the Three Jokers from Jeff Johns and Fabek in 2020.
Started in 2015.
True.
Well, that's tough because it was like, depending on how you look at it, for a lot of people, it became one of the biggest disappointments. I'm a sucker for shit like that. I enjoyed it. They had cards, right? They had these cards that you picked up per issue. They had 3 different variants at minimum per issue. Then they had the 1 in 25, the 1 in 100, the 1 in 150. They made it a big event.
Issue 3 has a 1 in 450.
What is that?
That's the one that has. Yeah, I'll send it. I've got a.
No, is that the one that's all of them? Like,
yeah, it looks like
a bigger one.
It looks like film reels.
Okay.
Yeah, the montage.
Yeah, I see that one. Yeah. That was like
See,
that was.
See, Dunk's talking about him, being disappointed in that book. But this is what I love about this medium, this genre, is that, okay, if the story's weak, at least you could get good art, and vice versa. If the art's not your cup of tea, maybe the story's really good. So I've always, that's one of the reasons I do like this medium a lot.
And that's funny because that book was really well received. That was, I like that a lot, and
because everyone was waiting for it. But the one issue I had a friend who doesn't collect the covers or the books, and his shop once messed up, and they gave him like an exclusive cover, and he was like, "No, like I want the regular cover because this is what I've been collecting." And at the end of the day, in my head, I'm like, "Yo, bro, you just got like a $75 book." But in his head, is like, "No, I collect." And I'm like, "All right." Like, I understand both sides.
He wanted the specific image of the main cover.
He wanted the main cover. That's it. And that's what's important. So it's tough. And, as a whatever, some comic, if a comic shop messed up that bad, I wouldn't be mad. But I understand how someone else would.
Over the past 10 years, I wanted to just go into real quick about some, I guess, tropes that I saw a common thread for over the years with Batman, and maybe it's the sell books, or maybe it's people chasing the DKR title, or whatever you want to call it. But a few of them there was a lot of more gun imagery with Batman, overuse of armor sometimes. I mean, it's cool. Like, when Frank did it the first time, it was like, holy shit. But then over the years, I feel like it was just a quick go-to. I feel like too many people know Bruce's Batman's identity at this point. That was never a big thing, changing a lot of mythology and history of the foundational history of the character and origins and this, that, and the third. I know these companies have to sell books, and people try to come up with new ideas. But I think one of the main tropes is that it's harder to write good stories within the confines of continuity. So it's either go that way or maybe just go like full Elseworlds, like, you know, Absolutes or the White Knights or whatnot. So I always give credit to people who could really do a good continuity story. I still want to see the day when someone does like a Jeff Johns Green Lantern version of Batman, like a Batman run on that level. You know, I would love to see something like that one day. But
I think Sean Murphy's come close to creating that type of, you know, he's got his own quote unquote Murphyverse where it is tightly based on the main continuity, but it's also based on the animated series, and he's pulling from everything that he loves and just kind of mixing it up in a different way with his own twist, and it's been really successful.
I think Sean
throwing in Easter eggs of the Batmobile '89 when it's unexpected.
Yeah, Sean keeps a really good balance of that, and he makes his deadlines too. Like he really is on point when it comes to all that. He like, I feel like he pushes it to the limit, but just doesn't go off the edge. He understands the character quite well to do that. So.
He keeps his ear close to the ground for what his readers want, and you know, even seeing him and talking to him at conventions, you know, he's very grounded, but he's really interested in what us as the readers want to see, and you know that makes, and also, you know, he's also the type that doesn't really care what the execs at DC want, and he just writes it and does it, and then he's like, well, here it is, you can take it or leave it. They take it.
Sean's very good. His work is stylized and technical at the same time. It's really very unique stuff. I always said him and Bermejo are like the rock stars of Batman for the past couple of years. Just there's nobody like them. So
and the fact that he writes the story is something that you never see with that high level of art, right? There's really no one else in his class that can write, and McFarlane, but as of recently, right? He created his own universe. He writes a story, and his art is up to snuff, just as good as the story. So
he makes his deadlines. He's
and he makes
it. And he's went into the Batman Beyond verse too, which is really cool. So he's just you know, he pulls from different, you know, spectrums of the timeline of Batman too, which is pretty cool. Like with Azrael as well. So
I'm not going to be biased to this conversation. So I'm going to go back to the question you said where I think when it comes to the Batman mythos and we trust these writers to create these universes and worlds, there's certain things we look for, right, that categorize what Batman should be in this new storyline, whether it's you know, whatever his new intro is to get it made him Batman or wherever he is right now. And I think it differs with everyone else. That's why some of these stories resonate to most of us than it does to others. For me, I look, you know, I don't know, Batman had that struggle. He lost his parents. He's trying to do things the righteous way. There's certain things I look for in a Batman story, and I think that's why, like, you know, as we spoke about, the Batman White Knight resonates very well with us because it's a combination of what we know from Batman and Batman animated series. Like, wow, what a great combo for our age group to like fit that. But can the Batman story be different and actually keep our attention, or a different universe or whatever? We haven't thought about it yet, and I'm looking forward to see other stories to grab my attention, similar to Absolute Batman, because that was a whole thing I never thought about. And cool, these new ideas, I'll take them. Some ideas I might not agree with. Others I'm going to just be like, oh wow, cool, let's see where this goes. And I hope that what's going on with Absolute Batman and other current new Batman ideas don't let me feel like the end of the New 52.
Just before I forget, going back 10 years to now, what? Because I think I was talking to Gramps about this recently, but I really, and they stopped doing it, but I thought it was a really good idea. Do you guys remember with the monthly Batman comics? Do you remember the combo packs that they came in the sealed plastic, and it was the same cover but different colors, and basically
the copies that came with the digital code.
Yeah, the digital code. I thought that was such a great idea.
The digital codes were dope for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was such a good idea. You pay like you pay like $1 more, Robin, or something like that, and you get the digital code and
something like that. It was.
Yeah,
that was
cool. Now, would you prefer them just have the book with a digital code and pay an extra $1, or would you want the option of having, a regular copy and the different color copy with the digital code for an extra $1? What do you think?
I never used that digital code, but it would be cool if they were going to do that, like you said, have it with maybe with a noir version or some other alternate version that made it, worth grabbing, because I don't really read a lot digitally. I understand why some people do, and it makes perfect sense. And if it's simply a space thing, or the thing that a lot of digital comics do is, when you touch the screen, it leads you to the next panel or the next dialogue, so it's easy to follow the story along, because there's sometimes where a story's not real clear on where it wants you to read the next panel, or if there's like a double page splash and it's like all this dialogue, where are you supposed to go with the story? That's one of the benefits with the digital, is that it'll show you where to go to follow the story in order. But I never use those codes. I think it'd be cool if they're going to do that, give me something else besides the main comic. Give me, like I said, give me a black and white noir version. Give me an alternate cover or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I do like the ability, and I think it's grown accustomed, because in the beginning, the navigation was really tough. But when you start using these apps where you can really zoom in, you really appreciate it, But at the end of the day, nothing beats opening up a book, but it is nice to kind of really slow yourself down and enjoy some of these panels, because I feel like sometimes you're inclined to kind of flip a little faster than you should, right? There's all this great work that went into it, and we tend to overlook that.
I'm one flipping mofo, bro. I'll be flipping.
It's funny how I've heard comic artists at panels and stuff like that talk about how they have to draw now that the digital medium is one of the new norms, because they'll have some kid come up to them at a con and talk about, one microscopic flaw in their artwork. And so they got to make it so pristine now because of the digital media. It's almost like how HD high definition cameras now capture basically every pore on an actor's face.
Yeah,
right.
But they got to find the right, like a happy medium for it.
Yeah,
I was talking to Capullo at a con a few years ago. I say a few years ago, it was probably like 8 years ago or something. But he had just recently started doing more stuff digital, and he was talking about a problem that he caught himself having, where he would do this really good job, was really happy with the detail he was getting on this window pane. It looked really realistic, just all the wood grain and everything. And then by the time he zoomed all the way back out, it was this tiny little window in a building that was far in the background. I just spent an hour on that and no one can ever see it.
Right. Yeah.
So being able to zoom in that far is dangerous too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch real quick on what Bat Force Times has said earlier in regards to something like Johns did with Green Lantern, which was Rebirth. That was the first Rebirth. I think they've done several since, but different characters or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. This might be a good time for it now. They over the last 10 years, they've taken away a lot of. Taken away Alfred. They've taken away Gordon. They've added a lot of. I don't know.
Somebody moving furniture or something?
Yeah.
I think Dunk is Dunk's moving the
Nah, it's not me, homie. Damn, shit, dog snoring.
Is that your dog, bro?
I thought that was Dunk.
Is that her? You can hear her?
Yeah.
Dude.
It's something. Somebody's.
She's snoring in the background. Okay, hold on. Let me put her out.
I mean, the timing was perfect because Dunk, turned off his
Yeah,
screen.
I'm like, it wasn't me.
Did it sound like a fart?
Kind of.
Sounds
like my stomach went through.
Yeah, but trust me, nothing's gonna top Tom flushing the
I know what
toilet
you're
on
saying,
Joshua
yeah.
Williamson.
Josh finishes telling us about, whatever aspect of that story he was writing at the time, and as soon as he finishes the sentence, flush.
Didn't he say, "Oh, that's what you guys really think about"?
Yeah.
But Grumps, you were talking about Rebirth with Jeff Johns or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you had started, and then we got into. I don't know. It went sort of left.
Left
But yeah,
or right,
you had
upside
said,
down. God knows where the hell it went.
yeah, yeah, you had said something earlier about, you'd like to see something for Batman the way Jeff Johns did for Green Lantern.
Yeah, but I mean, the way Johns planned out that Lantern run it just flowed so well. He didn't have to go over the top with anything. It was
Yeah.
just masterful storytelling, long range, and the I don't know. It was just what he did with that. I would love to see like a lengthy Batman run to that extent on that level.
It felt cinematic, right?
It was. And you know what? Jeff Johns is so smart because the way he ended that run, he fucking bolted and sealed everything. So if they ever tried to change something, it wouldn't make much sense because he really did seal the deal with that run. He knew what he was doing with that. Shit, I mean, I'd recommend that run to anyone who likes comic books. It was just so well done. But what I also wanted to go into real quick was, we were talking about 10 years then till now, comic book prices, variants. How do you guys feel about the evolution of that and where it's going? Because I'm seeing regular books for like $7 now. Like,
Right.
you used to be able to get a stack for about $20. A decent stack. Man, you'd be lucky to get 2 now for that price, depending on what you're getting, So, well, what's your guys' thoughts on that? Yeah. Robin, you would definitely know.
Yeah, that's why I was going to start speaking already. The thing that we always talk about is how no one really bats an eye at it. Someone can come up to the counter with 2 books, and you're like, all right, that's $15.75, and they don't. I think everyone is just so accustomed to prices being so high on everything that you don't notice anymore. You're getting desensitized now. If we end up in a situation where tariffs start hitting comics, then you're going to see some changes in the prices.
Yeah, that's gonna. Now, Robin, because you have the bird's eye view of the industry and comic book pulling. How have sales been and how has enthusiasm been with that?
As far as the superhero stuff goes, Marvel and DC are both in a pretty nice upswing right now because DC has the Absolute Universe going and that's killing it, and the Marvel has the Ultimate Universe to a slightly lesser degree from what we see. That's killing it for them, but I would say definitely the Absolute Universe has more titles that are selling really well than the Ultimate Universe. But yeah, both those two new things are the biggest things that both publishers have going right now. So it's cool that both of them brought in something new that was able to be so successful.
Okay. Well, it's good to see people still buying floppies because, for a while I was worried, like, depending on where sales go, are there going to be less titles? What's going to happen to this industry? But
yeah, and that's why I'm talking about the tariffs, because most of the floppies, aside from Marvel, does like a kind of a split where their single issues are printed, but everyone else prints all their comics here in Canada. So if all those comics have to cross the border and get tariffed by the US as a Canadian export, then you're going to see, the price of the cost for retailers on every book going up by whatever percentage the tariff is. So that could definitely affect things. If everyone's books start going up by $1 more, then how many people are going to stop buying comics?
You said the bigger books, like the Omnis or whatnot, a lot of them are printed overseas, like in China or whatnot.
Yeah. There's a mix of that. Some of the trades and stuff are printed in the US. A lot of them are printed in Canada. But when you get to like big hardcovers and stuff like that in particular, that stuff is really often printed in China.
Yeah.
I think this new resurgence in stories, I think we need it as fans because the movies have definitely slowed down, right? I don't think it's superhero fatigue anymore. I think it's just with all the writer strike and everything that we've gone through, I think there's been kind of, especially on the DC side, it's been slowed down, right? And then definitely on the Marvel side, it's been an overconsumption due to streaming as well. So getting back to the books, I think will inspire the movies even more because I feel like they need a boost, right? A lot of these shows are not really hitting the mark for us. So back to the basics, I think that's where we're going to start getting better inspiration from the books.
Well, like TV and media, you're talking about shows. I know The Penguin was quite popular.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
And I think with the success and buzz of that, we might be getting more stuff in general.
But we might not be getting the Batman too.
Well, when did it came out? What, 2021? Beginning of 2021?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's 2025. I mean, I don't think they haven't even been filming, right? So if they start filming end of this year, early 20.
They've pushed it back several times.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's so spread apart. You might as well just.
But listen, I'd rather you push it back than rush some shit, and then we have to go to this whole Snyder nonsense all over again.
You just do some streaming series. Look at Penguin. Penguin was a success.
Yeah.
I mean, do more of that.
I think what shot them in the foot was just the budgets, right? I don't know how much it cost per episode. I don't know if it was $1 million, but every episode was a banger. It felt like a movie.
Yeah.
But it was proof that anything in that universe works, right? The storytelling, you can still kind of transition us a little closer to the movie and help us until we get that. But we can easily add one or two more arcs in that universe and salt and pepper Batman in, where we can.
Yeah, but that would make sense. I think everyone's scared of spending money when it comes to like big box office at the moment. So it's like the money is in shows. Because
the rumor is that they might not even do it. So
yeah, that was a rumor that they said about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's what's going on right now. Because Robert Pattinson's supposed to be in some other movie. I forget.
Some other movie, that they're filming for, yeah.
And it might interfere with what they were, thinking about starting the Batman too.
They wouldn't even start filming till the end of the year.
And James Gunn has his own, Batman.
Yeah, this wasn't even in James Gunn's sight.
Who may or may not make some sort of shadow appearance in Superman.
Might be a one and done.
Yeah, so the Batman might be a one and done. And if that's the case, I would imagine Penguin would be done as well.
At least we got
Which
something.
kind of sucks. But
No, not hoping for that. I'm gonna be mad positive. F that
Yeah.
noise. Hoping for the best, man, because that was the movie was solid, and then that show was way too good to not continue not to branch off of that. Period.
I could see them doing a Selena spinoff. That would
At
be
minimum.
That would
At
be
minimum.
dope.
Or Sophia, Selena. Like, yeah, you could do a solid like 2 or 3 other shows of villains, and then come up with a movie.
The gap is so big now. I don't know. Who knows what's gonna happen with that? It's just
they don't even have a script, so
that's a half. That's gonna be half a decade gap. I mean,
They have so many scripts to pick from.
I don't even know. I mean, you might if it's lost that much buzz, then I don't even know if it's worth it because you gotta make that budget back when it comes to theaters, man. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
I think a Batman 2 wouldn't be a bad idea, but like if you do like a series of what you think the next villain is going to be for the next movie, that would be very helpful. And then it's like, oh no, this is just the sidekick.
Yeah.
Like here's a real villain, or like, just throw some like Mickey out there. I don't know.
That could be the modern version of the Batman 60s movie because you literally had the same rogues in it: Joker, Penguin, Riddler, Catwoman. If you really think about it, so you could always look at it from that angle.
I mean, we've also said it too. Like the gap keeps getting wider and wider every year. Like throw the Court of Owls in there, right? We know that it was such a epic run in the books that it could translate so well to all these different medias, movies, video games. We've been saying, right? Like, just give us that. That could just be a great second movie.
A solid Court of Owls would be insane.
Actually, this is funny you mentioned the Arkham. It's been what 10 years since Arkham Knight already.
I'm at 18% on that game, by the way.
That's
guys.
insane.
Wow,
So
you're flying through it.
It's been a decade since we got a good.
I'm at 29.
I can't drive the car.
That's sad that
the car.
we have not got a good Arkham game in a decade. They could have made one. I mean, well, Rocksteady was busy doing other stuff, I suppose, or whoever's doing it. But
Speaking of that, I remember being at the Dallas Comic-Con where Kevin Conroy spoiled it because that was right before Arkham Origins was going to launch. I think Origins came out in was it October of 23? And someone asked him, "Are you going to be in the new Arkham game?" And he just quickly said yes. And they said, "Oh, you're going to be in Arkham Origins." And he was like, "Wait, what Arkham game are you talking about?" And it kind of, people are like, "Oh my God, there's going to be another
Arkham game."
Yeah, and I saw this interview recently where he was talking about that, and he's like, I got a very stern phone call from Warner Brothers that said you are in breach of contract and you are not allowed to do any more cons.
Oh,
and he was like, you can't do that. And they were like, well, then we don't have to use you then. And
He's
so
like, nah.
they kind of had to negotiate kind of a peace treaty where he had like a handler go with him to cons so he wouldn't spoil anything.
A babysitter.
That's hilarious. Bro, there was once, we were a country. There was once a time when we had Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, and then Arkham Knight. And then nothing.
Yeah.
Gotham Knights, get the fuck out of here. Just
I didn't even bother playing that.
Nah, I can't even get that. But and
That sucks.
and 10 years animation, not too much. You had Beware the Batman, that got a lot of shit. I liked it, but that got a lot of shit. It's not an animated series. Cape Crusader I watched recently. Waited forever for 10 episodes. And you know what? The animation didn't even really evolve. It's I mean, I enjoyed it, and I love the fact that they did a Golden Age anime, which is pretty cool. But you think about back in the 90s when they dropped like 30 episodes in one season, an animated series, and then we waited this long for 10. Maybe it was like their version of a pilot season to see how it does. I don't know, but there was so much build up to it, and I do like that it was Golden Age, but I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like it could have looked a little. I mean, you think it's been what 30 something years since the animated series? It could have looked a little more evolved, right? But
I think they're working on the new season, right?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything
I
about
think they are, but I think to your point, they just kept it the same to like try to appeal to us.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they really.
Like even the jokes were like, well, I guess when we were kids, the jokes were never appropriate in anything we ever watched. But like even the jokes for that series was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm an adult. I see it.
I mean, Oswaldo Cobblepot.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. At least they got it.
Can't
out
win
of
them
the
all.
way. At least they got it out of the way in the first episode, so might as well just get it over with, right?
Yeah.
So we could. I did enjoy it. I just felt like I don't know. It's 2025, where animation could have looked a little better. I don't know.
We should get an episode every
detail.
2 days. Like for like an animation like film, it should be like an episode every 2 days at this
Just
point.
fucking
How fast you could produce things.
Let AI do that shit.
Yeah. Why is it taking so long?
Yeah, I mean, back to what Bad Force Thomas was saying, with the technology and the high level of animation, I felt like they revisited even like The Long Halloween. I don't want to say it was forgettable, but I don't see myself looking to rewatch it all the time. Like, what else did they do? They did something else that was they did The Year One, which was pretty good, but these are all kind of passive to me, right? Like they don't stick to me as much as a few other ones earlier, like when they did the DKR revisit. To me, that was more interesting because I feel like it translated so well. The newer ones don't move the needle for me, in my opinion.
And
I feel like they didn't do these stories justice.
Yeah, and what was so great about Batman the Animated Series was you had fresh new stories and good stories and self-contained stories, and it was that's really what made it special. And we long for the day where we get a good animated series again on that level. But
I mean, in the last 10 years, as far as animation, the one movie that comes to my mind that was beyond whatever expectations I had and then some was the Batman Ninja movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
we got to see that in the theaters actually by us. And
that was hysterical.
It was
I mean, it was just like, here what was cool is how DC actually allowed, a Japanese production company handle all of it. And, what they came back with was, nothing like what, the US based animation teams had ever seen or done. So
I had no idea what the hell I was watching.
I know it was like crazy, but especially that second act in the middle, I was like, what is this? And then all of a sudden it turns into big,
like kaijus and
stuff like that. I don't know what to expect in the second one. I haven't watched it yet, but
there's a second. I just saw it today. There's a second one. I was like, oh man, am I buying this? I'm like, oh boy. I'll say that first Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky, right? We got to see it in the premiere in New York City, so that was kind of like a one-shot opportunity.
Dude, that was 10 years ago.
Probably
I don't know if it was
2017,
10.
2018, right?
17, 18, somewhere around there.
For the pandemic, for sure.
Like 7, 8 years ago already. Jesus Christ,
I know.
guys.
I know.
So the 10 years in the game that were retrospective, the evolution of collectibles, action figures, whatever. What has evolved other than the price tag? There's been some good stuff. I think one of my favorites I've seen over the years is Mafx's handling of comic book accurate Batman figures, or
Yeah.
comic book accurate figures. I mean, the Dark Knight Returns line they did, the Hush line they did, just the Norm Brayfogle did. Really, really good stuff. That we wouldn't have had.
Jordan line. I'm just throwing it out there. Michael Jordan line. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
Well, I also liked how we talked about how as kids, we would wait and wait and wait for these figures, and it was like almost like now McFarlane, there'd be a story out, and then in a month or two, here's the figure from that story.
He's on
It's
it.
crazy.
Oh yeah.
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 He's
That's
been
insane.
on it, dude. It's scary because it's like
See, like 10 years ago, a lot of the stuff we were getting was DC Collectibles or DC Direct, and they were doing a lot of the New 52 stuff. I remember getting like the Capullo Batman and the Red Hood Capullo, the red, all that stuff.
They were doing a lot of the Arkham Knight game stuff too.
Yeah.
They had
They were
some
pretty
good sublines.
Fast forward, they close that department, and McFarlane takes over DC and just does a million Batman, which I don't think I don't think we complain about, but a lot of people in the game.
That was pretty much right at the peak of COVID, right? That's when
it was
when
like
the we always used to joke around the $20 figure wasn't reintroduced, and BFT always used to keep saying like, oh, how does he do it for 20? We're getting all this shit. We're getting all this like Easter eggs, these characters that we've never thought that would hit the shelves. McFarlane was doing it, right?
McFarlane was like the Costco hot dog guy, where he did not he didn't want it to go past $1. Now
I ain't changing that price for nothing.
He tried to hold on to that $20 point for a while. So,
Well, he did it for a really good time because series what? It started 2019 when
was he Robert? Was he on the show when he took over the DC license? On our
He had just been announced that he was taking over.
Yeah, it must have been right around there. Yeah.
Right when the world was ending too, and everything was shutting down.
Funny how everything worked out.
Where everything gets changed.
We're
5
back.
years later, he's
We're back.
losing the license for.
Right.
So we think anyway.
But I think action figures in general have gotten better over the past 10 years, and obviously there's this new Jesus. What's it called? The paint
Renaissance?
application process now, where it's not hand paint.
Yeah, it's companies like NECA have been doing it for the past 2 or 3 years. I don't know. I think McFarlane just introduced it this year, right? The digital paint.
Yeah.
It's accurate, right? You're seeing less variation.
Less
we
error.
used to joke around every time I would buy a few figs. What do? We would kind of look over the figures together, and you would kind of try to make sure that you would get the best paint apps, right? Now with the digital applications, it kind of eliminates that problem because it's 100% accurate.
Very accurate. Yeah.
I always
pretty
liked
cool.
finding the wonky-eyed variant.
Yeah,
That's the one I'd go for.
the cockeyed Batman.
Oh, niggity.
The Arkham
So
Batman.
wait a
that's
minute.
cross-eyed.
If the scans that accurate, why wouldn't the quality control would be?
It's for the face, though. Like I think that's where the digital printing or
Yeah.
I don't know, Marvel does inkjet or whatever. But
If you look
for
at
the other parts of the body, it's
Yeah, if you think if you could scan it and find the imperfections, why wouldn't the quality control do it?
Yeah.
Well, I think the whole point is like when they 3D mold it, it's what you see on screen is what the output is. But
Okay, so you know what
I
you're getting.
haven't bought any McFarlane's yet, but from what I've seen in the store, they do advertise it in that big sticker. They let you know that it's digitally, it's a digital edition. So
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool. Like Grump said before, from what we know, it looks like Farland era is ending this year, but you never know, right? It looks like it's going back to Mattel, which I'm not too excited about.
Nope.
I'll
I'm
just keep
hoping
on
that-
buying.
Yeah. I'm hoping this doesn't end the black and white statue line. Because
Oh.
that went away for a long time when
Right.
DC Direct went out of business, and then he started doing it again.
Yeah.
And I mean, he started putting out like Grails, you know. And
do you got the Sinkovich one? Anybody got Sinkovich?
no, I don't.
No.
I don't think so.
But yeah, he's been slowing down with that as well. So I'm kind of concerned because he hasn't even been doing many of those.
Doesn't he own DC Direct? Or didn't he buy it?
I think they closed, and then Jim Fletcher went over to be a consultant with McFarlane, and they just like took over the property. I think that's what happened.
So he probably controls the license for that label, DC Direct. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to polish up the collectible section, about 10 years ago, I know Mezco released the Dark Knight Returns figures for the cloth, and that was a massive hit. And I think that's what really spun them into like this household name where everybody wanted to get Mezcos, and Mezco became very popular.
They were even nice enough to let us wait 3 years for Batman '89, so that was kind of cool.
Patience is key, buddy. Patience is key, apparently. I didn't order it. Whatever. I wasn't that patient.
You want to talk about polarizing? Boy, that could fill up an entire show with that figure.
But
it's been fun.
So look over
Funko's
the
dropped.
Oh, Funkos, are they done? Not done, but
no.
But they're not at the height that they were.
Nothing close to the height they used to be in. It was nuts. In New York, you had a chrome Batman, and people were like, "I'll give you $200 right now." I'm like, "Damn, bro, I just got here." Like, yo, all right, bet, all right. Like, it was crazy.
They're like the new Beanie Babies,
right?
Yeah,
it's just
like
overload.
the older things kind of still hold because they're very hard to find. But like the new stuff that comes up, it's like, oh, you're still doing this.
Yeah,
it's tough.
They put out 20 a week with brand new franchises and stuff. It's just like,
yeah.
What about
you have like background characters having their own Funkos.
You guys into the Mondo animated series figures? Anybody see those?
I do. That Clayface, man. Woo-wee.
I mean,
pricey.
I'm not getting them, but they look amazing. Like just money, the cost and the space for 6-scale figures. But
Mondo doing these as cartoon accurate as you could get 6-scale figures for Marvel, DC. They're doing the old Ghostbuster cartoon line and Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, everyone. Their stuff is their cell shading, everything is so damn cartoon accurate. It's and the accessories you get are just so well researched. They really on top of their 6-scale game. I can't think of anyone else doing better 6-scale cartoon stuff.
I don't think they get enough credit for the output and the consistency that they offer. Granted, the prices, you get what you pay for, right? But it is an experience down to the packaging and the components.
I don't know about Jesus.
The price.
Because as beautiful as they look in the renders and stuff, they're still having some paint and QC issues with the X-Men line.
I feel like they used to be a little cheaper. I think now you're looking at $270. Where to me every day we used to buy one for $150, right?
I got two. I got Batman and Mr. Freeze, but that was 5 years ago.
Ooh.
So,
he got the Freeze.
Yeah, I got Mr. Freeze during the lockdown.
during lockdown.
During lockdown.
We were all Nora.
I had to spray that box down, boy.
Yeah. Remember that? Wiping everything down.
All the boxes.
he had the intercom, like, just leave it on the steps and step away. But I mean, I think it's safe to say overall what we discussed past 10 years, I mean, Batman still is like top of popularity. Shout out to our old friend, we used to call him Mezco. Mikey once said, you could set up a Batman table at a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie line, and you could still sell stuff any day of the year. That's how popular Batman is, and that just seems like to be the common thread. I think it's just a character that you could just he has so many tools, characters, gadgets, personas, suits, Batmobile, story arcs to work with that it just doesn't seem to ever get old. I mean, if it did, it would have happened, man. What, 80 years ago? Yeah.
And also the mythos has proved, especially in the Elseworlds, that he could be in any time era, right? And it still holds truth to the storytelling, whether it's, in England or in, a Grant Morrison arc, it still makes sense on some level, right? It's still translatable. His platform can be told in any time frame in a very seamless way, right? And that's why he can always be recreated and enjoyed, whether it's the main storyline or a side story.
Now you look at Batman. Batman could be part of the Justice League, or he could be a Halloween monster, or he could be a detective, or he could be gothic. It just he really is versatile.
He's a vampire.
I think that's where you get so many of the figures and stuff.
I mean, you look at, I got a McFarlane shelf, and it's like, God, you think about every version of that, it's just fucking ridiculous, man. Zura and Ra, I got them, I guess, like Last Night on Earth, in the like, just so many.
It's funny because
Batman versus Predator, it makes sense, right? Like,
it makes sense.
Fuck.
In the toy community,
episode coming soon.
A lot of people roll their eyes. Oh no, they're doing another Batman. And then you go to the store and you don't see it. It's not on the shelf.
Yeah.
So
someone's buying them.
Someone's buying it.
And they're enjoying Batman in every era possible. Like you could legit build multi-universes of every Batman period.
I mean they put Batman. They put Batman with Ninja Turtles. It just fucking makes sense, right? Like,
yeah. Who did Batman drown? Sorry.
That's a property I'm sick of. Goodness gracious.
Todd McFarlane knows how to make money, right? He makes all these he's making these Batmans. Why? Because it sells. For example, he knows what he's doing. I mean, like we were discussing earlier, that Bruce Wayne animated series, Bruce Wayne in the suit figure with the suitcase that has the bat suit in it. It's a builder figure. Why?
Yeah.
Because Todd McFarlane knows how to make money. So if he's doing a Batman a week, it's because Batman sells.
Yo, the Todd father brought back Spawn and Batman.
Yeah.
Together.
He knows.
In a pack. Yep.
In a pack.
Yep.
Combo pack.
He brought the comic book back and bought like these figures back at the same time, because he's like, oh man, you know what? Let me throw Spawn in there. Batman's gonna sell. Then he did the same thing with like these variant covers. He was doing these toy McFarlane variant covers with Spawn and Batman. He knows what he's doing. That's where the money's at.
Oh, doggy.
Whose puppy is it now?
That's probably mine.
Oh.
Ace the Bathound.
So we were gonna originally name this episode "State of the Batman," like State of the Union address kind of thing, and it's overall it sounds like the Bat is a lot healthy, alive, and well, and there's a lot more shit to come. What are there any things in general that you guys would like to see in the near future with Batman, in regards to any form of media? Or
I mean, touching on that, I just saw an Allstate commercial with Batman.
Oh,
okay. So literally, how is an insurance commercial the best live-action Batman we've seen in probably the last 10 years? That commercial was awesome.
Yeah.
And comic accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to see a Poison Ivy. We got to see a Joker. We got to see who else?
I think that the Riddler in it.
Riddler. I mean, dude, that was that Batmobile.
The Bateman.
That's the one I saw today where he was driving what's his name around in the Batmobile.
I mean,
actually,
how much money did they spend on that commercial? That's what I want to know, because just the license alone, but everything else, they rolled out.
Is it an insurance commercial?
Yeah, it's for a company.
They had enough money.
No, insurance companies don't make money.
Depends if they're one of those ones that doesn't pay out any of the policies.
Or in California, possibly.
Yeah.
But speaking of live action that you talked about earlier, we did lose a Batman this year. Val Kilmer, Batman Forever. That was tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good actor. So.
Just while you bring that up, on that note of losing someone, back when we had Lee Gill on the show, remember, from Joker?
Yeah.
And his friend Graham Healy, who was the one who made that happen. Like he had been a listener to the show for a long time and was friends with has been friends with Lee for most of their lives. Unfortunately, just a couple days ago, Lee posted that Graham had passed away. So rest in peace to him too. He's a really good guy. He's a friend of the show, and
really good guy.
Yeah, he's far too young, and
rest in peace. That's tough.
That is tough.
But to bring it up a note before we head out, we definitely have a lot of stuff planned for Bat Force Radio on our 10th year. We have more A-list guests coming back on the show. Actually, Robin just did one today that you guys will hear soon.
Yeah, the episode right before us. So this is episode 329 and episode 328, which, if you're hearing this, you've probably heard 328. That's Tom Taylor, his first time on the show, and Tom doesn't do podcasts, but that's what we're starting off with.
Yep, good way to start. And we got plenty more to come, and we're going to be covering a hell of a lot of stuff this year.
And if you're a listener that's been with us for the last 10 years, thank you, because that means a lot to us. We get together and we joke and we talk about Batman and stuff like that, but it's always good to connect with our friends in the community about, comics and our love for this character and stuff like that. But it's really, to build a community of fellow fans. And so if you're listening and you've been with us for the last 10 years, thank you. If you're a new listener, please, give some of our past episodes a listen, but buckle up because we're going to be hitting 2025 pretty hard.
Yeah, and shout out to all the, everyone out there who's, rocked your Bat Force shirt at a convention or what over the years, just, reinforcing the movement. It started off as a clubhouse with some of the most dedicated and fun group of friends and fans I've known, and it just evolved into something I think more than any of us could ever imagine. Robin, we got about like 100 guests at this point from the industry.
Yeah, we're right in there. Yeah, about 100 unique guests. That's not counting all of the times that people have come back.
Yeah, and
we've got something like 9 episodes with Sean Murphy at this point, and guys like that.
And one thing I'm, really grateful for is I truly believe at this point we're the only podcast to ever have the late and great artist Tim Sale on, artist of the Long Halloween, my personal favorite as well. I mean, that alone I think was just worth all of it. Like, wow, just so. But the good news is more to come. We are going into our 10th year with a lot of good stuff for you guys. A lot of fun. So that's what I got. Return of the Trunks. So.
Return of the Trunks. Oh yeah.
Pump up the trunk. All right. Till next time. Stay tuned, guys.